It was a warm summer evening when 28-year-old Marissa Blake vanished. She had left her sister's house around 9:15 p.m., promising to call once she got home. But she never did. Her phone went straight to voicemail by 10 p.m. What no one expected was that her final communication would come not from her, but from her phone. And it was terrifying. At 10:07 p.m., Marissa's phone automatically called her voicemail and recorded a message. It captured blood-curdling screams, heavy breathing, and a panicked voice crying for help. This voicemail would become the chilling centerpiece of an investigation that shook the quiet town of River Falls to its core. Welcome to True Crime Hub, where we dive deep into the most chilling real-life cases. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now, let's begin this story with part 1, The Last Call. The night Marissa disappeared was unremarkable by most accounts. She had spent the day with her sister Amanda and Amanda's 2 young children, helping clean out the garage and preparing for Amanda's upcoming move. Marissa was warm, bubbly, and always quick to smile. A lover of true crime herself, she often joked about how she'd be the worst person to kidnap because she'd notice everything. But on this night, her hyper-awareness didn't save her. Amanda remembered hugging her at the front porch. "Text me when you get home," Amanda had said. "I will," Marissa smiled. "Love you." That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning, Amanda woke up to 3 missed calls from Marissa's phone and a voicemail notification. She clicked on it while brushing her teeth. At first, she heard nothing but static. Then a high-pitched scream cut through the silence. And then another. Then, breathless, terrified words. "Please, oh my God, please don't." A loud thud. More screaming. Then silence. Amanda dropped her toothbrush into the sink. Her heart was racing. She called the number back. No answer. Straight to voicemail again. She played the message over and over. It was real. It wasn't a prank. Something had happened to Marissa. Amanda called 911. The dispatcher listened to the voicemail live on the call. By the time officers arrived, Amanda had already packed a bag and was ready to search for her sister herself. Police quickly obtained a digital copy of the voicemail. Experts cleaned up the audio. A male voice was faintly heard beneath the screaming. "Don't look at me. Shut up. Get in the car." The chilling realization hit them. This was not a random cry for help. This was an abduction in progress. Investigators compared the background noise in the voicemail to local geography. A train horn echoed in the distance. Crickets. A dog barking. These clues suggested the event happened somewhere near the southern train tracks. Amanda recognized the barking. It belonged to a dog named Titus that lived 3 blocks down from her. The search radius was narrowed. Volunteers combed the woods south of River Falls. Police helicopters scanned the area for signs of movement. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Within 24 hours of Marissa's disappearance, her silver Nissan Altima was found, abandoned, doors locked, purse still inside, near a stretch of remote highway. The driver's seat was pushed back. Marissa was 5 feet 3 inches and always kept her seat close to the wheel. This was someone else. The voicemail was aired on the local news, with sensitive parts censored. Public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of tips poured in. Many thought they recognized the voice. One tip stood out, a woman who claimed her ex-boyfriend used that exact phrase. "Don't look at me, shut up," when angry. His name was Peter Lanning. Peter Lanning, 34, was a former mechanic with a history of domestic violence. He lived less than a mile from where the voicemail audio placed the screaming. When investigators visited his home, Peter appeared calm and even offered them water. But they noticed deep scratch marks on his neck, thin but bleeding. He claimed he'd been working under his car. Police asked if he'd be willing to come in for questioning. He agreed. But on the way, he asked to use the restroom at the station and attempted to escape out the back window. He didn't make it far. Once in custody, Peter denied knowing Marissa. But phone records showed he had called her 3 times the week before. When pressed, he claimed she was a friend of a friend. "I was just trying to get some advice on my car," he said. Peter's alibi didn't hold. Surveillance footage from a gas station on Route 19 showed him entering Marissa's car around 9:40 p.m. the night she vanished. He wasn't trying to fix her car. In fact, footage showed her standing by the driver's door, keys in hand, and Peter walking up behind her. She visibly tensed. Then the video cut off. Police now had probable cause for a warrant. Inside Peter's garage, they found a blue hoodie matching the description Amanda gave of what Marissa was last seen wearing. Bloodstains on the sleeve. More chilling, a USB drive containing audio clips. One labeled, Practice. Another, Real One. The USB revealed horrifying truths. The first clip, Practice, contained Peter rehearsing phrases in different tones. Get in the car. Don't look at me. Shut up. Each version grew more aggressive. He sounded like he was preparing for a role. The second file, Real One, was Marissa's voicemail. But it was longer. It included parts Amanda had never heard. Marissa crying out for her sister. Peter laughing. Nobody's coming for you, sweetheart. Investigators were stunned. He had copied the voicemail before it auto-deleted. He kept it as a trophy. When news broke about the recordings, the town erupted in protest. Marissa's parents held a candlelight vigil. Amanda, too devastated to speak, sat silently with a photo of her sister. Public outrage grew louder when it was revealed that Peter had been arrested for stalking 2 women in the past. Charges dropped both times due to lack of evidence. Now people were asking, how many chances did he get? Detectives continued to search Peter's home. They found a box under his bed, photos, lipstick tubes, pieces of jewelry. And in the middle, a blood-stained scarf. It matched the one Marissa wore the day she vanished. Peter's home had an unfinished basement. Under a loose floorboard, search teams uncovered a makeshift room. Soundproof padding, a broken chair, duct tape, and hair, long and dark, like Marissa's. Blood splatters lined the concrete. Luminol lit the floor like a crime scene painting. DNA confirmed it. The blood was Marissa's. Peter refused to speak further. But investigators didn't need his confession. They had the audio, the footage, the scarf, the USB, and one more thing. Tire tracks near where Marissa's car was dumped. They matched Peter's truck. Even in death, Marissa spoke. Her screams, her pleas, they sparked a case that might have gone unsolved. The voicemail proved that even the smallest technological detail, an auto call, could become the voice of justice. Peter was charged with kidnapping, murder, and obstruction. At trial, the audio was played for the jury. Some jurors cried. Others turned away. Peter showed no emotion. Amanda, seated in the front row, held her breath. After deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict, guilty on all counts. But the story doesn't end here, because what police found in Peter's second storage unit would change everything. After Peter's conviction, investigators turned to the storage units he had rented under a false name. There were 2 listed in his records, but one hadn't been opened in over a year. Hidden beneath dusty tarps and old furniture, police found something deeply disturbing. A box of cassette tapes, each one labeled with a name. Some were crossed out. Others, like Emma Blake, had a red dot beside them. Officers played one of the tapes at the scene. The voice on it wasn't Marissa's. It belonged to someone else. A woman pleading, crying. The same phrases repeated. Please, please let me go. There were more victims. The FBI was called in. They began digitizing and analyzing the tapes. A horrifying pattern emerged. 5 women, all from nearby towns, had been reported missing over the past 6 years. Each tape corresponded with the rough date of their disappearance. Only 2 of the women had been found, both classified as accidents. But the audio painted a different picture. They weren't accidents. They were victims. Peter wasn't just a killer. He was a serial predator. And Marissa's voicemail had opened the door to discovering his entire legacy of violence. River Falls police reopened every cold case involving missing women in the last decade. With FBI support, they connected Peter's previous addresses to each case. He had lived within 10 miles of every disappearance. One case, in particular, stood out. Natalie Reynolds, 26, vanished after her shift at a grocery store. Her body was never found. She had worked with Marissa. Amanda remembered Marissa mentioning Natalie once. She said Natalie always looked scared, like someone was watching her. It wasn't paranoia. It was Peter. Grief turned Amanda into a force of her own. She joined every online forum, studied case files, and began working with victims' families. She launched a podcast titled Voices from the Voicemail, determined to give names to every tape found in Peter's storage unit. Within months, she identified 3 of the unknown voices. Calls poured in. Families reached out. Mothers, sisters, daughters. The ripple effect was undeniable. Marissa's scream had become a lifeline for others. And Amanda wasn't stopping. A breakthrough came when a woman named Yanelle Harper contacted the podcast. She was 33, soft-spoken, and she had a story. 6 years ago, She was attacked after leaving a club. She remembered being dragged into a van, but somehow escaped. She never reported it, afraid no one would believe her. But when Amanda played one of the unknown tapes during an episode, Yanel froze. "I think that's me." Forensic audio analysts confirmed it. She was the only known survivor of Peter Lanning. Yanel recounted a night filled with horror. She was held in a cold, dark room. A blindfold kept her disoriented. Her attacker never showed his face. But his voice, she'd never forget it. He played her own screams back to her, over and over. "See how weak you sound," he whispered. She escaped when he left the door slightly ajar. She ran barefoot for miles, terrified. Now, 6 years later, she could finally name her monster and testify against him. Peter's lawyers tried to suppress the new evidence, claiming double jeopardy. But federal prosecutors charged him separately with additional kidnappings and assaults based on the new tapes. Yanel testified. Calm, collected, powerful. She described every detail she remembered. When the tapes were played in court, jurors visibly recoiled. Peter, shackled and stone-faced, remained silent. And this time, the sentence was harsher. Life without parole, plus 200 years. Months after Peter's second trial, authorities unearthed a hidden compartment in his truck. Inside were printed photographs, images that appeared to be taken without the women's knowledge. Parking lots, gas stations, grocery stores. One image showed Marissa standing at a crosswalk, dated 3 months before her death. Peter had stalked her for weeks. He planned it all. Investigators now believe the recordings weren't just trophies. They were premeditated. Each scream documented. Each victim memorialized in horror. Amanda pushed harder for legislative change. She testified before Congress, advocating for a federal victims registry that would allow shared access to digital evidence. Audio evidence saved lives, she said. Her bill, the Marissa Blake Digital Protection Act, passed unanimously in committee. She was no longer just a grieving sister. She was a national voice. Podcasts, interviews, conferences. Amanda became the face of survivors' advocacy. All from a single voicemail. All from one night of terror. In River Falls, a memorial garden was built in Marissa's name. Visitors come from all over to leave flowers and listen to her story. At the center stands a plaque. Her scream became a signal. Her voice became a shield. Her life, a light for others. Peter Lanning will never walk free again. But the women he silenced now speak louder than ever. Through Amanda, through the survivors, and through the voicemail that captured more than horror, it captured truth. The story of Marissa Blake and Peter Lanning caught the attention of investigative journalist Lena Grimes. She had covered high-profile serial cases before, but something about the voicemail, Amanda's crusade, and the chilling audio archive made this different. Lena requested access to the case files and spent months interviewing families, law enforcement, and Amanda herself. Her multi-episode documentary podcast, Echoes of a Voicemail, went viral within days. It catapulted the case into international awareness. But it also unearthed something new, a pattern that stretched beyond River Falls. As the podcast gained traction, Lena received a disturbing email. An anonymous source claimed Peter Lanning was inspired by someone else. Look at Clay County, 2007. She screamed into the phone too. Lena followed the lead. A case eerily similar to Marissa's surfaced, a young woman named Kayla Mart, whose final act was a call that recorded her cries before she disappeared. Her case was cold. No voicemail was ever recovered. But Lena wondered, was this a coincidence? Or had Peter mimicked a crime? Peter's internet history revealed forums on primal sound theory, fear acoustics, and even dark web groups sharing audio of staged abductions. One user, called Echo Finder, had posted comments that aligned too closely with Peter's MO. Recording fear is capturing the soul, read one chilling post. Authorities traced the account to a defunct server in Nevada. The FBI launched a new investigation. There might be others like Peter. Amanda was horrified. The voicemail wasn't just a clue. It may have been a template. After the podcast gained millions of listeners, Amanda received a chilling message on her voicemail. Nice show. You're next. The voice was distorted but unmistakably male. The FBI took it seriously. Amanda was placed under protective watch. But she refused to back down. I'm not going to be silenced like my sister. If they want me to shut up, they'll have to kill me too. Her bravery stirred the public. Support poured in. But so did fear. If Peter wasn't working alone, who was still out there? From prison, Peter sent a letter. addressed to Amanda. It read like a taunt. "You want to know why I recorded them? Because no one listens until you scream." He never apologized. He never showed remorse. But the postscript was more revealing. "Ever heard of Rook County?" She screamed the loudest. Amanda passed the letter to the FBI. It led to a forgotten missing persons case. Savannah Hall, 24. Disappeared in 2015. Another unknown tape was matched to her voice. Peter knew more than he let on. With Peter's cryptic clues, investigators returned to his grandfather's abandoned farm, land he had inherited years earlier. Cadaver dogs hit on a location near the barn. Excavation revealed a series of shallow graves. 3 victims, all female. One confirmed as Savannah Hall. The other 2 were unidentified. Amanda was present when the remains were exhumed. It was the closure many families had begged for, and the horror Amanda feared. Peter hadn't just stalked. He buried the evidence himself. Journalist Lena Grimes dove deeper into Peter's upbringing. His childhood was marred by instability, abuse, abandonment, and an absent father. Psych evaluations revealed a fascination with control and silence. He failed empathy tests, lacked emotional response to suffering. But he was smart, calculated. He covered his tracks by studying real cases. He once wrote a paper in college titled, "Crimes That Echo: The Power of Sound in Psychological Torture." It was clear, Peter didn't just kill, he curated fear. Of all the recordings found, one was different. It had no screaming, just silence. Then Peter's voice. They say silence is golden, but I think screaming is art. The tape ended with a whisper. "There's one more." Authorities feared a final unknown victim. Lena and Amanda raced against time to identify who it might be. Clues pointed to a woman named Danielle Cortez, a college student who vanished during spring break years earlier. She was never linked to Peter, until now. Danielle was studying criminal psychology. Her research project, the psychology of serial killers. She had exchanged emails with someone using the handle Soundmaster 94, later confirmed to be Peter. Her last known location, River Falls. A new search of Peter's backup drive revealed images of Danielle's research files, class photos, and one grainy image, Danielle, tied and blindfolded. It was the smoking gun. Authorities updated Peter's charges yet again. Amanda broke down when she saw Danielle's photo. She was trying to study them, and she became one of them. In Peter's final trial, a large screen played the series of voicemails, including Marissa's. Not as evidence, as testimony. Amanda spoke last. "We always ask what the last thing our loved ones heard was. Now we know, and it haunts us." Peter showed no emotion. The judge called the case a symphony of suffering. Peter was now formally tied to at least 11 victims. But the story was far from over, because one of the tapes remained unclaimed, and it would bring Amanda face to face with the unimaginable. The last unclaimed tape was the shortest, just 14 seconds long. It began with heavy breathing, then a faint whisper, "They are watching." Then silence. No screaming. No violence. Just unease. Amanda listened to it repeatedly, trying to decode it. Audio specialists isolated the background, faint chatter, possibly from a television, and a jingle from a local news station. It was dated 2 months before Marissa's murder. But no victims were missing that week. Had Peter been watching someone? Planning another? Spectrogram analysis revealed something hidden in the recording. A Morse code embedded under the whisper. The message, "She lives." Investigators were stunned. Was someone still alive? Amanda clung to the hope that one of the victims had survived. But who? The voice didn't match any known recordings. FBI linguists suggested it belonged to someone younger, likely a teen. Was there a survivor who never came forward? Amanda made it her mission to find her. An anonymous tip led police to a reclusive woman living in the Appalachian foothills. She went by Eva but had no legal documentation. She claimed she'd escaped from a man in 2012. He had held her in a basement for months. She never knew his name. But when Amanda played the 14-second tape, Eva froze. "That's my voice." Eva was the missing link. She had escaped Peter, years before Marissa. And she had hidden ever since. Eva was just 17 when Peter abducted her. He had posed as a youth counselor. She trusted him, until he drugged her and kept her locked in a cellar. But one night, a storm knocked out the power. The lock failed. Eva ran. She didn't go to the police. She was undocumented, afraid, alone. So she disappeared into the mountains. Now, over a decade later, She was the one who broke the cycle. Her story matched Peter's timeline. Her escape gave hope. Amanda requested one final meeting with Peter in prison. After months of therapy, preparation, and pressure, authorities approved it. She sat across from him, heart pounding. "You lost," she said. Peter smiled faintly. "I never played to win." Amanda pulled out a recorder. "This is your last chance to give names, or you'll just fade into silence." Peter leaned in. "Silence is the end. I prefer echoes." Then he refused to speak again. Inspired by Amanda and Eva's bravery, several women came forward with similar stories. One had survived an attempted abduction. Another had once dated Peter and found hidden audio gear in his home. Each new voice added to the web. Peter wasn't just a killer. He was a collector. But now, his collection became his undoing. Amanda launched an online archive called Echoes Project, documenting every known tape, voice, and name. It became a sanctuary for survivors. With bipartisan support, Amanda's bill became law. The Digital Victim Protection Act created national registries for unsolicited recordings, required forensic archiving of suspicious voicemails, and strengthened penalties for audio-based stalking. Amanda was invited to speak at the White House. She wore Marissa's scarf. In her speech, she said, "We used to think screams were just terror, but now they are testimony." The room stood in silence, then erupted in applause. Peter was moved to solitary confinement after repeated altercations in prison. He remained unrepentant, but his health declined rapidly. In his final months, he kept a journal. Authorities found chilling sketches, diagrams, audio waveforms. He believed he could trap fear in sound. When he died, the warden said, he went out with silence, just like he feared. Peter's ashes were unclaimed. The state scattered them anonymously. A national memorial was built in honor of the victims, a wall inscribed with each name. At the center stood an interactive display. Visitors could hear survivor stories, see case timelines, and, if they chose, listen to the voicemail that changed everything. Amanda stood beside Eva as it was unveiled. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The world was finally listening. Years later, Amanda sat down to record the final episode of her podcast. "This is for you, Marissa," she began. She played the voicemail one last time. This time, not as horror, but as a warning. Then she said, "Let this echo in your mind. When someone disappears, don't just listen for their voice. Listen for their silence." She ended with a call to action. Don't let the next scream go unheard.